rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, it's amazing to me, the backlash, of course, that apparently has hit all of the social medias, but we've got some new information, and I got to tell you, social media is great for getting things out there quickly, but at the same time, it's also a conduit for misinformation to spread like wildfire. I got some information for you that'll kind of prove all that. Plus, Erica Kirk gave a moving tribute to her husband. It happened last night while I was on the show, and I couldn't necessarily go over and jump over there and grab it, but I wanted to talk and discuss a little bit about it tonight. Plus, I have some other items, because we can't just focus on Charlie Kirk as much as I would, the Charlie Kirk assassination, as much as I would love to. I've kind of given you all of the information with the exception of what I'm going to tell you tonight. All the information that I am aware of that is fact-based information, not innuendo, not suggestion, but fact-based. And I just got to say, that Bongino 72-hour rule. Yeah, there's a reason why you should actually have that. For it for sure. Anyway, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight is Pops McGroin. Pops McGroin is on tap for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Pops McGroin and partner as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
That's right. God bless America. And I thank you for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file that's created, and send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online through email. Or I understand you can share it as well. Share it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the lineup. That would be number 20, if you get it in soon. I currently have 19 of these. I'd like to get 20. I like even numbers, so I'd like to get number 20 in, if you please. If you would please. All right. Let's go on to tonight's headline sponsor, which, of course, is the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following three key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up, and while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online. to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's IOTC.AmericanPerspective.online, or if you just want to get this wonderful, fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to Constitution.AmericanPerspective.online. Take a look at this wonderful, sexy, rounded corner document. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant, and there's no cheap glue here, folks. It is stitched all the way through the leather and the pages within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and workmanship defects, such that if you have a problem with this, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. My youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained within can help you achieve your civics badge in scouting. It may also help you achieve your civics test. Go to Constitution.AmericanPerspective.online and get yours today. I think a lot of people nowadays need this because they really don't know the Constitution. They really don't know about the Constitution. G over on Rumble says stitches are worthy of a constitutional surgeon. Well, I would tend to agree with that. Go to Constitution.AmericanPerspective.online, get your copy today, and don't forget to check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's offerings. Maybe you'll learn something about our government and our founding and all of these wonderful things that we have going on in this world. Normally, right now, I would show you what I am drinking, but unfortunately, immediately after the show here, I have to go on duty. So no alcoholic beverage for me. It is just essentially an Arnold Palmer that's in my wonderful glass here. So there you go. That's what I'm using. It's a mason jar. Yeah, no alcoholic beverage for me, unfortunately. Not right now, anyway. I'll get it probably tomorrow morning after I'm done. All right, folks. Let us go to the first segment of the show, which is, of course, on this day in American history. And, of course, for On This Day in American History, we read from the American Patriots Almanac. It is written by William J. Bennett and John T.E. Cribb, chock full of all kinds of information and little factoids about this wonderful country that we call home. Tonight, being that it's September 13th, we are going to talk about the Star-Spangled Banner. In September of 1814, during the War of 1812, a British fleet sailed up the Chesapeake Bay and closed in on Baltimore, Maryland. The bustling port was one of the largest cities in the young United States and a rich prize. To capture it, the British had to go past Fort McHenry, which guarded the harbor. As ships crept upstream, their crews could see a gigantic American flag fluttering over the fort's walls. On September 13th, the big British guns took aim at the flag and let loose a horrifying fire, including huge bombshells that often blew up in midair. When dark fell, gunpowder-filled Congreve rockets traced fiery arcs across the night sky. It was a spectacular sight. Francis Scott Key had an agonizing view of the battle. The young American lawyer had sailed out to a British warship before the fighting began to gain the release of a friend being held prisoner. He succeeded, but the British grew concerned he might have picked up information about their plans, so they detained him as the attack got underway. Key had no choice but to wait out the night, pacing the deck and hoping that the fort could hold out. When dawn's light finally came on September 14th, he spotted the stars and stripes still proudly waving through the smoke. Fort McHenry stood, and the British were giving up. Overcome with emotion, he scribbled a few lines that began, "Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?" A few days later, the poem was printed and distributed in Baltimore. People began singing the words to a popular tune, and soon the Star-Spangled Banner was a hit. More than a century later, in 1931, Congress designated the song as our national anthem. And that is tonight's On This Day in American History. Well, much like the national anthem, I actually believe that September 10th, as much as September 11th sort of defined the character of this nation, September 10th may be a turning point. And yes, I'm not using that as a tongue-in-cheek, but may very well be a turning point in this country's history. And in fact, Erica Kirk delivered a moving tribute to her husband last night, and she basically has reaffirmed her commitment to keeping Charlie's legacy alive. One of her statements said, or one part of her statement, I should say, said, "To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. My husband's mission will not end, not even for a moment. My husband's voice will remain, and it will ring out louder and more clearly than ever, and his wisdom will endure." Yeah, folks, this is one sharp lady, and she's also really pissed off. Really pissed off. And she also pointed this out, too. She said, "They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country." So, by the way, the group's annual America Fest conference will continue as planned. This time it's going to be held in December in Phoenix, Arizona. And Charlie's popular weekly podcast will also continue. No mention as to who might be taking that over, if anybody is taking that over. Yeah, she is not she is not here. She is not messing around. She is not messing around. Now, one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize about her is she is actually a highly educated woman. And she is also the host of her own weekly podcast called Midweek Rise Up. She's the founder of a faith-based apparel company called Proclaim. She also heads a Christian ministry called Bible 365, according to her website. She was a NCAA women's basketball player at Regis University in Colorado and later transferred to Arizona State University to earn dual majors in political science and international relations. She earned a master's degree in American legal studies from the Liberty University in Virginia, where she is currently pursuing a doctorate. God, I got to get that out. A doctorate in biblical studies. In 2012, she was also crowned Miss Arizona, USA. And she is a formidable woman, and I believe that she has this, yeah. has this going to be taken on, and she basically has said, and she quoted this, "I'll make Turning Point USA the biggest thing this nation has ever seen." And then she finished it off with, "I love you, baby. Rest in the arms of our Lord." Folks, this is one formidable woman, and I don't think that anybody really would like to see anything, of course, not only happen to her, but I also believe in her words. She is going to make Turning Point USA a extremely large organization. Some people, and I originally didn't know this, my daughter actually had to inform me of this, but apparently she was present at the Utah Valley University when he was shot, along with her 2 kids. Yeah. And what's sad about all of this, of course, is the immediate hate that has turned upon her with regards to this. Good luck. That's all I'm going to say to any of you that are attempting to try and dissuade her from doing what she was doing. Reports are coming in that TPUSA has drastically increased in size. And many other people are signing up and creating chapters and everything else across the United States on university campuses and, all over. One of the things, of course, that has been tossed around by pretty much everybody on the socials is, where did this heinous murderer get his ideology? And that's been running back and forth. I talked about it in extensively last night in terms of where I think it is, and my stance still stands. That the individual was left-leaning. He was not a right-winger, but he was definitely left-leaning, although the signs that he left behind have indicated that he was more aligned with leftist ideology than even alt-right, even though some of the alt-right statements that he was using, it seemed a little out of character in particular, and they seemed to be based on, again, this video game called Helldiver 2, which has leftist plot lines. Let's just put it that way. Now, one of the things that the left has grabbed onto, because they immediately jumped in as soon as they found out that this individual came from a Republican family, the leftist propaganda machine churned up. And all of a sudden, they were saying, "Oh, look, he's a MAGA supporter. He's all this stuff." Well, let me just tell you this right now, folks. Like I said last night, or, well, I don't know if I said this last night, but like I inferred last night, this gentleman who, and I'm using that term very, very loosely, was not MAGA. Because MAGA does not do these kinds of things. And the left keeps on going on about, oh, he was a white supremacist. He was a Republican. He was a Trump supporter. Well, the truth is he registered to vote but didn't affiliate with anybody. He did not vote in the last 2 elections and therefore wasn't old enough to vote in 2020, by the way. They also have created AI photos. One of them in particular was with this despicable, evil human being standing there with a Trump shirt on that has been since debunked and labeled on X as incorrect, that it had been altered. Now they're sitting there and they're trying to say, "Oh, the Antifa scribblings." No, that's just misdirection. That's not true. Yeah, okay. Again, this is not what they are. And then they tried to align him with the group, the Nick Fuentes group, Gropers. Now, while that, or what they call the Groper Army, well, while that Groper references, again, as I said last night, I didn't think that they were in all seriousness. I thought they were more tongue-in-cheek. And the reason being is because of the fact that it just didn't seem... It seemed a little incongruous that the all of the messages that were left, Antifa messages on 2 of the casings, a reference to gay on another one, and a reference to the furries on another, just seemed a little out of sorts. And there, of course, the left is continually pushing that just because his family happened to be Republican, that he was Republican. You got to understand there are places and things that, you know, that things can change once you turn 18 and go outside of your family's home and stuff. A lot of things can change. The left also took time to point out that the grandmother was saying that the entire family was MAGA. That it really didn't matter, you know, the son, the son, she didn't know, she was not aware of the fact that he would have been left. He would have been right. He would have been right-leaning. Well, there's a problem with that, too. Because while there's verified pictures as a young man, this individual went to places like gun shows and is seen holding and being around weapons. The grandmother also said, "No, I've never seen him hold a gun. I've never seen him hunt. I've never seen him around guns." So where is the truth? Because now, even though there is verifiable picture evidence that this young man was at least around weapons in some way, shape, or form, that, now grandma is saying, "Oh, no, there's no way that anybody could be a leftist in my family." Yet, oh yeah, we've never touched any guns, or I've never seen him holding a gun. And yet there's pictures all over the place of him and the family holding guns. We continue on down the line. There was a original story, and I even kind of got caught up in it, that has since been corrected as far as it wasn't Discord, apparently, that he was on. Well, there's some sort of a... Let's just say there's some sort of a miscue about that it may not have been Discord. It might have been another messaging app that this best friend and roommate, they were talking about. And it wasn't premeditated in the terms of the messages weren't prior to the shooting. They actually appear to be just after the shooting. But all of this, of course, is covering up the fact that this individual engraved shell casings with specific and very odd dichotomous messages that were all tied to the online community, that were all tied to this particular game, the Helldivers 2 game, and a particular a couple of particular lifestyles. So there's been questions and points being brought out that, he has some of the things that would indicate that he's left. but he's right-leaning. Yeah, okay, sure. So, yeah. And they, of course, point to pictures of this young man during Halloween. And what a lot of people don't understand is when you dress up for Halloween, you're being something that maybe you're being mocking. Maybe something that you are, I don't know, trying to be, because you may actually not be. I mean, there's all kinds of things here. There's all kinds of things here. And there's a couple of people like Ali Wajahat, who is a staunch leftist lunatic. He has been posting all kinds of crap all over the place. There is no evidence at this point that he was ever part of the gropers or groupers, whatever they're called. There's no evidence that this man, this individual, was a white national conspiracy theorist or white nationalist. There's none of this. But what there is, again, is what we've been giving me. What they've been showing in terms of his again, etchings on the bullets and those kinds of things, which prompted me to basically say, well, it looks like he's definitely not a conservative. He's definitely not right-leaning. But he seems to be a little more left. And I had a sneaking suspicion, given the fact that the furry reference is literally in the furry world. I had a sneaking suspicion that there might be something that would come out afterward, later on, that might bring some of this out. And we now have that at least somewhat confirmed. So this broke early on in the day, and I was hesitant to even mention it, honestly. I was hesitant to even mention it up until the point that I actually had it confirmed by a reputable source. Because it originally showed up on an X account saying, hey, exclusive source says that the assassin was living in an apartment with a transgender roommate, meaning another boy that wanted to be a girl. Now, keep in mind, they may be roommates. There may not be any kind of a quote-unquote sexual interaction or relationship between them. However, the fact that he had somebody that close to him, that indicates that he may not be where they are on the right-hand side of the aisle, according to the left. Now, all of that being said, that particular piece of information caught like wildfire, has spread across the interwebs and the social media sphere. The New York Post picked it up. Fox picked it up. But they didn't have any kind of corroboration or corroborating evidence from what I could tell from all of the social media posts. But I have finally found a reputable source. I have yet to find that these folks are actually lying about things when it comes to stuff like this. The Epoch Times has now confirmed that there is a senior FBI source familiar with the matter corroborated the earlier reporting on this individual from Fox News. So he apparently, whether he lived there 100% or not doesn't really matter. He resided with what appears to have been a transgender partner. And by transgender, the individual is transitioning from male to female. And that same individual, by the way, is cooperating with the FBI in its investigation. And this is why, because the individual has not been named at this point. Now, apparently, there are some people that are trying to implicate someone who is obviously, by the pictures, transgender. But I'm not going to show you those photos because there's no verification that that is actually who this is, although the individual that they post in the photos also seems to be a part of the furry community, meaning that they dress up like a furry. So, again, we're looking at something that is leaning left, that this individual is not right. Not even alt-right. And of course, because, and I was talking to my wife about this today, of course, any lawyer worth their salt would tell this individual to just shut the hell up and not say a damn thing. So we're probably not going to get anything in terms of his motivations until the trial, or until, after the trial. But all of that being said, here is just yet another piece of evidence that is demonstrating that this individual had left-leaning tendencies, leftist ideological bent, and that he is not a right-wing or even an alt-right extremist. Now, as I pointed out before, TPUSA increased its footprint. But that's not the only thing that has increased. Americans apparently have shattered fundraising records for Give, Send, Go and GoFundMe campaigns in support of Kirk's wife, children, and memorial efforts. So on Give, Send, Go, and this is an article in the in Fox Business, on Give, Send, Go's giving platform, fundraising efforts have amassed more than $2.8 million. The company confirmed to Fox News Digital that one campaign set a record for raising the most money in the shortest period of time. Give, Send, Go co-founder and co-CEO Heather Wilson told Fox News Digital, Give, Send, Go has always been a place where people can immediately respond to crises. Within hours of Charlie's tragic death, friends and supporters had set up a campaign. The fact it took off so quickly shows just how deeply his life impacted people and how urgent the desire was to support his family. She says, what we're seeing is that people want to respond quickly when tragedy strikes, and crowdfunding has become one of the primary ways they do that. We always remind ourselves that behind every campaign are real people who are hurting. Our responsibility is to provide safe and a safe and secure platform for people to rally around one another in times of need. When the spotlight is on us, we don't see it as pressure. We see it as an opportunity to point people back to hope, generosity, and community. So, several campaigns have also been started on GoFundMe, where a spokesperson told Fox News Digital that people are raising money for Kirk's wife and children and a permanent memorial at Utah Valley University. Some of the organizers include students from Utah Valley University and TPUSA chapter members. The spokesperson said, our hearts go out to the Kirk family and everyone impacted by this tragedy. At GoFundMe, being a safe and trusted place to give and receive help is our top priority. Our team is swiftly reviewing each fundraiser related to this horrific shooting to ensure they are verified and that the funds are safely delivered to the intended beneficiaries. GoFundMe has also said that there's a team dedicated to verifying each fundraiser, and it must be clear who the organizer is, who they're raising funds for, and their relationship to the recipient. Verified fundraisers have raised more than $12,000 so far on GoFundMe. If GoFundMe can't confirm information or verify legitimacy, the system allows for the fundraiser to be removed and the donors refunded. So there you go. See, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm just going to tell you right now. I mean, if you want to sit here and talk about, if you want to sit here and talk about, generosity and giving to charities and things like that, it should be done in this fashion. It should not be done through taxpayer money. So, there you go. Well, hopefully we'll get something going up on Capitol Hill as a response to this. And it looks like we may, well, at least the calls for it are starting. According to the Epoch Times, GOP lawmakers have demanded an inquiry into radical left networks. And again, as I point out, this is first of all, you need to understand this is a mentally ill individual, obviously. Somewhere along the line, their hate consumed them and turned them into a killer. And this is a mental problem. But all of that being said, the vast majority, at least here recently, have been from the left, have been leftist ideologically bent, and definitely have been the response from the left turning up the temperature. So we should start looking into this. Our government should start looking into this. And we should start looking into the radical left and their assault on America's institutions. Because regardless of what the left might say, you leftists no longer value the same foundational principles and values that conservatives do, that made this country and created this country and made it great. So a group of House Republicans, according to this piece, is pressing congressional leaders to create a select committee to investigate what they call the radical left's assault on America and the rule of law. In a September 11th letter to House Speaker Mike Johnson and the chairs of the Judiciary and Oversight Committees, Representative Chip Roy and more than a dozen colleagues urged the formation of a panel to probe the money, influence, and power behind the alleged assault on America's institutions. They asked the Select Committee to be staffed with members and aides who have prosecutorial or law enforcement backgrounds to deliver results, and armed with full subpoena powers to trace the funding networks of non-governmental organizations, donors, media outlets, and public officials. The lawmakers wrote, "The patterns are undeniable, and we are witnessing a sustained breakdown of law and order fueled not by chance, but by anti-American ideology. We must take every step to follow the money and uncover the force behind the NGOs, donors, media, public officials, and all entities driving this coordinated attack." And they are not wrong with this. They are not wrong with this. But not only do they need to focus on the NGOs outside of government, folks, they also need to focus inside the leftist Democrat Party. Because when you sit there and all you do is complain about the President of the United States, not on policy, not on, his or her actions, but going and attacking him straight and direct on and saying things like, well, he's a dictator. He's a threat to democracy. While he has, meaning Trump, has never shown that he is a dictator. And he has been one of the most constitutional presidents in modern history. And by modern history, I mean in the last, since 2000. He's been one of the most constitutional presidents for that. But you take a look at, Senator Jeff Merkley in Oregon. In June, he said that Trump is acting like a dictator by openly selling access and influence. Where's your proof, Jeff Merkley? Where's your proof? That same month, he also said that Trump was transforming the country into a strongman state. Again, zero proof. Senator Alex Padilla, you know, the dumbass that tried to bum rush Kristi Noem, he, in July, said that people are dying because of fear and terror created by the Trump administration. Where's the proof? Where's the proof that this is happening? Spartacus himself said that the big beautiful bill is a moral obscenity and called it violence in the sense of what it will do. Really? Really? Where's your proof? The darling of the left, one of the biggest dumbasses himself, Chris Murphy, over in Connecticut, in September charged that we are not living in a democracy because there is no rule of law under Trump. Where? Show me. Where? Where is there no rule of law? Because Trump has acted in the most lawful way. He has been following the law. The leftist Democrat president before him did not follow the law, and the leftist Democrat president even prior to his first term was also not following law. Senator Ed Markey, in May, called Trump a dictator, referred to his actions as authoritarianism on steroids. Where? Where was the authoritarianism? He wasn't the one that was trying to censor conservatives through tech organizations during COVID. Senator Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas herself, has constantly said that Trump is making the country look more and more like a fascist state. Really? Where's the fascism? What is he doing that is fascist? Senator Tina Smith said, I can see this as kind of the handbooks of an authoritarian-leaning regime. Really? Really? Where is that happening? Where is that happening? Because I seem to recall President Obama clearly in a speech said, oh, well, I can just make law because I have a phone and a pen. That all he has to do is call somebody up or write it into law as an executive order, which is 100% against the Constitution. President Trump, has been doing executive orders within his power. Yeah. Michigan Senate Democrat candidate Abdul El Sayed said that when they go low, we don't go high. We take them to the mud and choke them out. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, of course, talks about Trump using a dictator playbook. When Trump was trying to crack down on illegal immigration, you know, actually following the law. Former Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio, which, by the way, he's running for re-election. Ohio, you better stay away from it. Referred to Trump as a demagogue. And that's just the small end of the gene pool when it comes to these people. It's all over the place, folks. It's all over the place. Now, you want to sit here and talk about, you know, the left and their extremism. It doesn't start, or it doesn't end necessarily, and it doesn't culminate, or it has culminated, I should say, in Charlie Kirk. But it's been before that. Because you see, Donald Trump was shot in the ear. I've proven this and photographic evidence has proven this. But the Democrats don't want to believe in that. Now, unfortunately, the young man that perpetrated that crime was killed. And so we don't actually have him available to figure out or for him to articulate why he did what he did. But we do have one that attempted a short time later. That suspect has his trial opened up just recently. And for whatever reason, he has decided, I don't know if this is a smart move or a dumb move, but he has decided to represent himself in this federal trial. So he apparently was in his trial and was given the time to for him to give his opening statements. And he just went off. He started to reference people like Adolf Hitler, Russian President Vladimir Putin, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He started asking questions like, what is intent? Why are we here? What is our intent? To love one another? Is this so difficult? And just going off on some weird tangent. Apologizing to the jury and posing further rhetorical questions. Well, thankfully, Judge Eileen Cannon stopped his remarks and dismissed the jury. This is just an example of how off the rocker these people are. Cannon told him that we have limited patience and you don't have unlimited license to go forward and make a mockery of the dignity of this courtroom. When the jury returned after this, the guy continued by invoking Henry Ford and the Wright brothers, and then declared this case means absolutely nothing. A life has been lived to the fullest. Yeah. These people, I'm telling you, this is a mental illness issue. This is a mental illness issue, and the left has normalized or attempted to normalize mental illness. And we sit here and wonder, what the heck is going on here. Now, a witness that of this guy's attempt, guy by the name of McGee, witness McGee, testified that while shopping for furniture, he heard the gunfire and then saw a disheveled, unkempt, and frantic man running across the road into a car. McGee had photographed the vehicle and later provided the image and license plate number to the police. Well, during cross-examination, this guy asked McGee if he thought Medea, Beyonce, and Michelle Obama would be mad about what he had done. This guy literally, I'm wondering if he might be pushing to try and get to be dismissed as being identified as being insane. So the trial, of course, is going to continue next week with further testimony from law enforcement and eyewitnesses. So yeah, we'll have to see. But I'm telling you, these people, they literally are crazy. They're nuts. We've allowed mental illness and this pervasive belief that mental illness is acceptable in our society and that criminal behavior is acceptable in our society, all because the left has attempted to normalize it. No. Hopefully not anymore. All right, let's take a quick break here. Let's talk about... Well, I'm going to need this tonight. No, let's talk about Rumble Premium really quick here. All right, you've probably noticed that Rumble is growing fast and it's not going to be slowing down anytime soon. They're building a real alternative to big tech that puts creators first and actually protects free speech, like mine. And now you have Rumble Premium, which is an easy way to upgrade your experience. With Premium, you get ad-free viewing across the platform. No pre-rolls, no interruptions, just the content that you came for, like mine. Plus, Premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind-the-scene drops, and more from your favorite creators. I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to soon, I'm sure. Right now, Rumble is offering a $10 off for an annual subscription. Just go to rumble.com/premium. For those of you that don't know, / is the question mark key. Go to rumble.com/premium. Use the promo code STUDIO, STUDIO, at checkout, and you'll get that $10 off your annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and enter the promo code STUDIO at checkout to receive that $10 off the annual subscription. That's rumble.com/premium, promo code STUDIO at checkout to get that $10 off the annual subscription. No ads, more freedom, and the content that you actually care about. That's the deal. Go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO to get that $10 off your annual subscription. All right. So we've had some victories in court. Again, telling you Trump isn't doing this all correctly. He's doing this by the law, by the book. Here in the Epic Times, an appeals court has now ruled that Trump admin can halt Planned Parenthood's Medicaid funding. This appeals court stemmed from a lawsuit that Planned Parenthood filed in July alleging that the provision to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act was designed to target its members. Well, the federal appeals court ruled on September 11th that, and by the way, this follows the preliminary injunction that was issued by the U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani in July that blocked the federal government from implementing a provision of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. That provision bars nonprofit organizations that provide abortions and received more than $800,000 in Medicaid reimbursements in fiscal year 2023 from receiving federal funding. Among those affected is Planned Parenthood, although Planned Parenthood isn't explicitly named in the bill. Well, the First U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has granted the Department of Health and Human Services request to pause that order, allowing the HHS to cut off Medicaid funding from Planned Parenthood. The court stated in its ruling, notwithstanding the contrary conclusion reached by the district court after its careful consideration of the matter, we conclude that defendants have met their burden to show their entitlement to a stay of the preliminary injunctions pending the disposal of their appeals of the same. So, in the statement, Planned Parenthood said that the appeals court's September 11th ruling would block more than 1.1 million patients from using their Medicaid insurance at its health centers and put 200 clinics at risk of closure. So here's your problem, Planned Parenthood. I mean, let's just be honest. First of all, constitutionally speaking, the federal government does not have zero constitutional mandate to provide federal funding for health care under Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution. Yeah. So, but they say that they are going to continue to fight this unconstitutional law, even though the court has allowed it to impact patients. It should impact patients, folks. It should impact patients. Healthcare isn't a part of our federal tax funds. It's not supposed to go. Our federal taxes are not supposed to go to healthcare. Period. Now, if a state wants to do it, that's up to the state and up to the state's constitution to do it. I personally think government should stay out of it completely. But that's just me. So, yeah. Anyway. Well, it's not just that one that was done. We also have another appeals court that says that the White House can end legal protections for more than 400,000 migrants. Yeah, I mean, you know. Yeah. Federal appeals court ruled on Friday that the Trump administration can end legal protections for 430,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. This ruling by a 3-judge panel in the First Circuit Court of Appeals is the latest in a fight over Biden-era policies that created new and expanded pathways for people to live in the United States, generally for 2 years with a work authorization. The Trump administration announced in March it was ending the humanitarian parole protections, which, by the way, is legal again. Now, the judges wrote in their decision, "We recognize the risks of irreparable harm pervasively laid out in the district court's order, that parolees who lawfully arrived in this country were suddenly forced to choose between leaving in less than a month, a choice that potentially includes being separated from their families, communities, and lawful employment, and returning to dangers in their home countries, but absent a strong showing of likelihood of success on the merits, the risk of such irreparable harms cannot by itself support a stay." See, what people don't seem to understand about these temporary protection statuses is that these are granted to you on a temporary basis based on what whoever gave it to you feels is your potential threat against you. If that threat disappears or lowers, then the temporary protected status is just that, temporary. It is not designed to bring you into this country and offer you up a path to citizenship. It is essentially designed to help bring people from other countries into America for a temporary purpose until things get better in their home countries, and then you are supposed to leave and go back. Now, once you go back, then yeah, you can apply and try and come back to the United States, I'm sure. There's pathways and ways, there's legal ways for you to do this. But this is not, the temporary protected status is not it's not the purpose to come here and become a resident. Never was. It's not intended for use that way. And for you guys to sit here, for you guys, I mean the Democrats and the left, to sit here and think that, oh, no, this is something we just continually extend it forever. No, you don't. That's not that's not its purpose. That's not what it was designed for. It's not what it's supposed to be doing. You need to understand this. You need to shut up and you need to sit down. Well, Trump has continued with this. Trump admin, I should say. Here in the Epic Times, temporary protected status expires for 76,000 citizens of Honduras and Nicaragua. It's effective September 8th of 2025. Department of Homeland Security announced the cancellation of the TPS for citizens of Honduras and Nicaragua. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem announced the cancellation in separate statements effective September 8th, 60 days after the publication of the cancellation notice in the Federal Register. The agency estimates that there's approximately 72,000 Hondurans and 4,000 Nicaraguans that were covered by the TPS and will be required to leave the United States as of this date. Noem stated on July 7th that conditions in Honduras and Nicaragua no longer meet the requirements for TPS. You see what I'm saying? Things have calmed down. And this was following a consultation with interagency partners, Citizenship and Immigration Services, and the Department of State. Noem stated in a July 7th statement, temporary protected status was designed to be just that, temporary. Yep, exactly. So, yeah, this needs to go. TPS is government protection created by the U.S. Congress in the Immigration Act of 1990 to provide protection to foreign-born individuals who cannot safely return to their home countries due to difficult circumstances such as armed conflict, natural disasters, or other extraordinary conditions. During the designation period, TPS beneficiaries may remain in the United States and are authorized to work as long as they meet strict requirements, such as having a clean criminal record and proper registration. TPS does not lead to permanent resident status or any other immigration status. Now, these folks were here originally designated in 1999. Following Hurricane Mitch. 1999. It's now 2025. I think their problems are pretty much taken care of by now. They should be going home. Back in 2018, DHS announced the termination for the TPS for Honduras effective January 5th of 2020. However, a litigation response allowed for continued extension until a final resolution or a final extension by the Biden administration until July of 2025. So there you go. These people, I'm telling you, folks, they just, all they want is these people to come here. Now, here's the thing, is that Nicaragua's TPS also was extended 13 consecutive times. And keep in mind, this was for a hurricane that occurred back in 1999. Why would we need to extend this all this time? Because, again, the TPS, the temporary protected status, is for that time period, a temporary period while things are getting restabilized back in the other country. And it was extended for Nicaragua for 13 consecutive times for periods of 12 to 18 months each. And it was extended for the same legal basis of the environmental disaster caused by the hurricane. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Why would you extend it that much? Noem is correct. She declared that the impacts of the natural disaster impacting Nicaragua in 1999 no longer exist. The environmental situation has improved enough that it is safe enough for Nicaraguan citizens to return home. No kidding. Noem said also in another statement on July 7th, it is clear that the government of Honduras has taken all of the necessary steps to overcome the impacts of Hurricane Mitch almost 27 years ago. Honduras has been a wonderful partner of the Trump administration, helping us deliver on key promises to the American people. We look forward to continuing our work with them. Yeah. How is it that you can't cancel something that's temporary? I mean, and that's focused realistically on the fact that, you know, it's an environmental disaster. I can understand 1, maybe 2 years, but 27 freaking years? Give me a break. There's no way. These people are, these Democrats and leftists, they just don't seem to understand in all this. They just don't. And I don't think they ever will. They have, as far as the Democrats are concerned, they have simply moved on from the foundational values and principles that created this country. So, yeah. Anyway. Well, the infighting, you know, even with all of the Charlie Kirk and everything that's going on here, the infighting in the Democrat Party has not stopped. Sorry, had to take a drink. Has not stopped. And rightfully so, it shouldn't. But you remember that book that Kamala Harris said that she was going to go out? Oh, yeah, this 107 days thing, she was going to go out. Well, now that her book's out, now that her book is out and she's starting to promote it, which, by the way, apparently the book excerpts of this are painting Biden in a less than flattering light. So they released a few excerpts in the Atlantic. And, yeah, let's just say, for an example, Kamala Harris rips Biden and his team in her new book, blames everyone but herself for her issues. Harris presents various examples of her being castigated and how the Biden team thinking was zero sum. If she's shining, he's dimmed. In short, Harris made it clear that the Biden White House was not welcoming, not nurturing, nor particularly helpful during her doomed presidential campaign. Well, apparently the Biden team has decided to fire back, and they fired back through Axios. One Biden insider told Axios bluntly, Harris simply wasn't qualified to be vice president. No shit. I'm sorry, but, you know, the funny thing about these kinds of wars, realistically, and I'm sorry, I'm going to digress here just for a second, but the funny thing about these internal wars and these internal battles is that you finally come up with the truth. And the truth, realistically, in this particular case is that, yes, Kamala Harris was literally a DEI hire. She was not qualified for the position. She was brought in for the plain and simple fact, and if you would ever listen to Biden at any point in time when he said that he was looking for a woman of color, he was looking for a person's sex and the color of their skin. The perfect example of what a DEI hire is. Forget the fact of whether or not they actually have any chops to actually do the job, whether or not they have any experience, whether or not they have any intelligence. Forget the fact of whether or not they have any experience in order to be able to do the job. Just pick them because they happen to be female, which, by the way, the Democrat Party still has not been able to say what a woman is, that she is female and that she is a person of color. That's specifically what he said he was looking for. And he ended up with her. And a former White House official basically stated basically stated Vice President Harris was simply not good at the job. Well, no kidding. The official also added that she has basically zero substantive role in any of the administration's key work streams, and instead would just dive bomb in for stilted photo ops that exposed how out of depth she actually was. The official also took things a little further and said that if Harris needed someone to blame in her 2024 failure, she should look in the mirror. Well, anybody on the conservative side of the aisle knows that that's the case. He went on and said Biden is not the reason she struggled in office or tanked her 2019 presidential campaign, or that she lost the 2024 campaign for that matter. The independent variable here or there is the vice president, not Biden or his aides. Another ex-Biden aide also lambasted Harris, who claimed that in her book she felt strong-armed going along with Biden's short-lived re-election campaign. The former aide told Axios, "I'm not sure the very robust defense of not having the courage to speak up in the moment about Biden running is quite as pervasive as she thinks it is. If this is her attempt at political absolution, lots of luck in your senior year." Yeah. She's an idiot. That's what it is. She's an idiot. Well, that former aide, of course, wasn't done, especially when it came to one of Harris's more publicized failure. He said, the aide said, I don't know if it's a male or female, but the aide said, on the border stuff in particular, I'd also say if she spent a fraction of the time and energy doing the work that she did on complaining about how she was perceived, she would have been perceived a whole lot better. Oh, you know, I'm just going to point something out. I'm just going to point something out. In America, granted, you can sit here and you can think, you know, you can worship Donald Trump. You can be of the side that Donald Trump can literally do no wrong. Or you can also be like me. I'm a little bit more, shall we say, down to earth on this. You can look at Donald Trump and say, you know what? He's got some serious character flaws, especially in his personal life. But when it comes to his policies, and given the fact that we really don't have, or really didn't have at the time of electing him in both cases, really any other choice that would do as well, okay, that we can get behind his policies. We don't necessarily have to like the man as the individual. And regardless of what any of the left seems to think on all of my social media accounts, I am not like a sycophantic follower of Trump. When he leaves office, fine. I never saw any of his TV shows or anything else. You know, I knew sort of what he was, but the fact of the matter is that it's his policy prescription for America right now that is what is needed. But you can sit there regardless of which side of that spectrum you're on, or even if you're in that spectrum, you know, in between in that spectrum at all. You can literally state that Donald Trump, both of his elections, has saved America from complete destruction by two of the dumbest Democrat women I think I have ever heard in my entire life. Between Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. And I'm going to be honest with you, I personally think that while both of them are completely stupid, I do think that Hillary Clinton may edge out Kamala Harris in the brains department just a little bit. But not by much. I mean, at least Hillary Clinton had some political savvy, let's just say. Some. Not a lot, but some. Anyway, another former VP, back to this piece here. This is, by the way, in the Western Journal. I don't know if I said that, but back to this piece. It basically said, yet another former Biden official actually disputed Harris's claims directly, claiming that plenty of help was offered to her. The official said, there were others on Biden's team, though, who really tried to help her thrive as VP, but she and her team did not seize that support and make the most of it. It is all a tragedy. Now, the thing about it is, though, is that the most stinging remark, according to this piece, is saying that from Biden's inner circle came when a different former aide co-opted Harris's own campaign slogan to describe the thought of her running for president again in 2028 and said, yeah, we're not going back. Oh, she's running around on this book tour, and apparently, yeah, nobody, not even the people inside her office, really liked her. You know, this is reminiscent, obviously. This Biden VP Harris is sort of reminiscent of the Obama VP Biden era, because Biden and Obama, yeah, they basically, they didn't like each other at all. All right, well, one thing that's been running around, this is a different topic now, just going to kind of shift. Well, actually, let me go ahead and do this. I got to get a little bit of stuff in the coffers here. Let me jump in on this. If it comes up, there we go. All right, anybody who is an outdoor enthusiast or anyone who just wants to be ready for anything, you really got to check out the Red Pro Series 72-hour emergency kit from Caddis Sports. That's CADDIS Sports. This is a serious 72-hour survival pack built into a rugged tactical backpack and loaded with everything a single person needs. It has 24,000 calories of food bars, 5 water pouches, a thermal emergency blanket, a 36-piece first aid kit, an emergency stove, and a campaign cup. All of this has a 5-year shelf life, so you're covered for hurricanes, wildfires, blackouts, whatever life throws at you. Whether you're off the grid or you want a peace of mind at home, this kit is a must-have. Compact, reliable, and made for real emergencies. You know, pick one or two of these up and like put them in your car, because you know, a lot of people don't understand about emergencies like this. Is you think about, hey, if I'm in an emergency at home, okay, you have most of the stuff available. But what about if you're driving in your car? What about if you're away from home, maybe at work or something along those lines? You should think about potentially having one of these with you. But anyway, whether you're off the grid or just want peace of mind at home, this is a must-have. Compact, reliable, and made for real emergencies. Use code RUMBLE at checkout for 10% off your order today at caddissports.com. That's CADDIS sports.com. Once again, use the RUMBLE code, RUMBLE, the word, RUMBLE, as the code at checkout. Okay? Use RUMBLE at checkout to get 10% off your order at Caddis Sports, CADDIS sports.com. Gear up, stay safe, and be ready when it counts. Go to caddissports.com. Use promo code RUMBLE at checkout for 10% off your order. All right. And as far as whether or not I have a kit, I have a kit. I don't necessarily have this particular kit, but I do have a kit. And when I was traveling, I would and driving around most often, I would put it in the car. So it's always a good idea to be prepared. Believe me, it's sort of like having a gun. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. But you can choose. I mean, you can actually choose. You can choose to purchase one altogether like this one, which a lot of people do because you don't really know what you need necessarily. You may not know it right off the top of your head. Or there are plenty of like do-it-yourself kits where you can go and purchase all of the parts and pieces and stuff and put it all together into your own bag. So it's just up to you as to which way you want to go. But yeah, I would recommend having at least one around because you just never know. You never know whether you're going to be traveling somewhere and you're going to need it. So, yeah. All right. So everybody, of course, all on the left, it keeps talking about, when is the prices going to come down? I mean, they totally ignore the fact that Biden like drove prices up astronomically in there. Astronomically. During the Biden years, that 9.1% inflation that hit. They seem to think that Donald Trump in 6 or 8 or 9 months is going to be able to reverse 3.5 years of massive price increases in inflation. But anyway, I just want to point something out to you that here in Fox Business, gasoline's burden on Americans' wallets lightest since 2005. So oil prices are expected to fall to $50 a barrel by early 2026, according to the EIA. So U.S. drivers, according to the piece, are expected to spend the smallest share of their disposable income on gasoline this year than in the last 2 decades, according to new data from the Energy Information Administration. The EIA projected that less than 2% of people's personal disposable income will actually be spent on gasoline in 2025, down from an average of 2.4% over the previous decade, and the lowest share since 2005, excluding, of course, 2020. To get to that percentage, the EIA said it has been comparing gasoline prices, which have declined every single year since 2022. With disposable personal income, which it says has increased by a compound annual growth rate of 4% from 2022 through 2024. Gee, I seem to recall 2021 hitting that 9.1% inflation. Anyway, I digress. The EIA forecasts significant decreases in oil and gasoline prices this year, consistent with its previous forecasts in its September short-term energy outlook. The EIA acting administrator, Steve Nally, said in a statement, "The good news for consumers is that we are generally seeing lower prices at the pump, and we expect gasoline prices to keep trending lower through next year." The EIA projected that the average retail price for regular grade gasoline is expected to sit at about $3.10 per gallon this year and about $2.90 per gallon in 2026. Both estimates are down from the original $3.30 per gallon in average in 2024. According to AAA, the average price of for a gallon of regular gasoline this past Thursday was $3.19. So, yeah. Anyway. Now, a contributing factor to all of this is that oil prices, which account for more than half of what consumers pay at the pump, are expected to be down in the near term. Now, did you hear that? Did you hear that point? That a contributing factor to oil is that oil prices, meaning the price of crude oil, which accounts for more than half of what consumers pay at the pump. So people sit here and complain about gas prices going up and down all the time. Well, over half of that comes from the price of crude oil. Anyway, it also adds in, you also have to understand that the additional part of it is refining costs as well as state taxes, which is why people in California, Washington, Oregon, other blue tax states, okay, is where the money, that's why you have, when you hear Donald Trump talk about, we're at $2 a gallon gas, And then you have some idiot on X or Facebook or whatever post, I don't see that. Well, where do they live? Most of the time, they're living in freaking California, where gas tax prices are the highest in the nation. Anyway, going back, the EIA's STEO forecast, which shows the Brent crude oil prices falling from $68 per barrel in August to an average of $59 per barrel in the fourth quarter of 2025. So those prices are expected to drop even further to around $50 per barrel in 2026, according to these projections. So there you go, folks. Things are dropping. And keep in mind, too, that it's not just gasoline prices that are going to be affected. All transportation prices are going to be affected by this. So whether it's shipping or whatever, because obviously anytime fuel itself starts losing value, going down in price, then pretty much everything starts going down in price as well. So this is a boon. This is good. This is a good thing. Okay. So, yeah. And by the way, the drop in oil prices, according to the piece here, is it's driven by an uptick in supply that's expected this year by OPEC members. They are slated to increase the output further while supply from the outside grows as well. Wonder what that means. You mean like us? Venezuela? Things like that? Yeah. Anyway. Sorry about that. I don't know what the heck happened. It just like all of a sudden blinked. Anyway, so there you go. So we got some gasoline prices that are going down and things like that. And yeah. All right. Well, here in another kind of an interesting story, I guess Biden's presidential library donation fundraising is not going very well. Oh, Democrat donors are unenthused about donating to his presidential library, apparently. Several donors told NBC News that they either wouldn't give to the library. Yeah. John Morgan, actually, who is a Florida-based personal injury lawyer and longtime Biden supporter, said, I want an $800,000 refund. Morgan said that he had raised nearly $1 million for Biden that went to then Vice President Kamala Harris last year. And keep in mind, she overspent $20 million. Anyway, Morgan added, I don't think the library will ever, sorry, let me rephrase that because this is a quote. Morgan added, I don't believe a library will ever be built unless it's a bookmobile from the old days. He said, in my opinion, no significant building will be built. Noted that his suggestion of a bookmobile was a joke, but not by much. Morgan said that Biden's age, 82, and the medical issues are reasons the former president might not be much help with raising money from or for the library. He's like, coupled that with the perception that the party's woes rest with his decision to seek a second term, and we have a Hindenburg heading straight towards us. Well, I think it's a little bit more than that there, buddy. Yeah. Anyway, Susie Bell, who is also a major Democratic Party donor, said, no one has asked, but I am not inclined to give to libraries. Another donor said that I'd like him to have some nice library. I just don't see that's where I'm going to spend my money. Former Biden administration official and bundler said that regarding donating to the library, me? No way. Close to a dozen donors actually talked to NBC News, citing various factors for not wanting to donate, including not wanting to be targeted by the Trump administration and wanting to save their resources for the future of the Democratic Party. Yeah, I don't think you guys have much of one. You should just, hang on to it. But anyway. Some of the donors noted that the personal interactions they had with Biden's inner circle were so distasteful that they doubted they would ever raise significant funds for him. So there you go. Rufus Gifford, who led Biden's 2024 campaign fundraising and was finance director for the former President Barack Obama, is the chairman of the library board. And he said he believes that despite some challenges, donors will want to sign on to the library. Yeah, I don't think so. Not too many people are happy with your candidate there, buddy. Yeah. So, by the way, a source familiar with the Biden team's plans told NBC News that the library's goal would be to bring in only $200 million and $300 million. That amount is far less than the $850 million cost of the Obama Presidential Library, which is due to open in Chicago this spring. I've shown you pictures of that monstrosity that they are putting on. Yeah. Anyway. Democrat National Committee fundraising chairman Chris Corgi said, "This is a very difficult time to raise large checks for Democrats because of how vindictive Donald Trump is." Yeah, I think it's a little bit more than that, buddy. Anyway. All right, folks. That's it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. Once you are signed up and signed in, make sure you hit that green, search up the American Perspective channel, and then hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down across all of my platforms, whether it's YouTube, X, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you on Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your weekend, and good night, everybody.